Sí, cada vez que vengo aquí siento muy cómoda, siento en casa.
Those weren't the words of a Spaniard. They came from a 21-year-old Filipina standing confidently at center court in Madrid, speaking directly into a microphone before a Spanish crowd. Fans had arrived expecting nothing more than another tennis match, but what they witnessed became one of the most talked about moments of the tournament. With one fluent, natural, and heartfelt sentence in Spanish, Alex Eala transformed an ordinary post-match interview into a viral sensation. Within hours, the clip spread across Filipino social media, caught the attention of international tennis fans, and forced many people to rethink everything they believed they knew about the rising star. The scoreboard simply read 6-3, 6-3, but the interview told a much bigger story. To understand why that brief exchange resonated around the world, you have to rewind just 3 weeks. On July 4th, Alex Eala stunned the tennis world by defending Wimbledon champion Iga Swiatek. She survived a dramatic first-set tiebreak before closing out the match 6-2 in the second set, becoming the first Filipina in history to reach the round of 16 at a Grand Slam. Although her remarkable run ended 2 days later with a hard-fought 3-set loss to Jasmine Paolini, the tournament elevated her to a career-high ranking of world number 28. By then, tennis fans already knew Alex Eala as an emerging force on the court. What happened in Madrid introduced them to an entirely different side of her. The expectations entering that afternoon were modest. Here was a young Filipina competing on European clay in a sport traditionally dominated by players from Europe and North America. Tennis journalists covering Madrid and much of the Spanish-speaking world had rarely focused on Southeast Asian stars. Most people assumed the interview would follow the usual routine: thank the crowd in English, smile for the cameras, and head off the court. Instead, Alex did something almost no one expected. She looked toward the packed stands, smiled warmly, and began speaking fluent Spanish. The atmosphere changed instantly. The crowd responded with surprise and admiration as she answered questions naturally, confidently, and without hesitation. What could have been an ordinary interview suddenly became one of the defining moments of the day. The timing made the contrast even more striking. On the very same tournament grounds, reigning Wimbledon champion and world number 4 Iga Swiatek also attempted to conduct part of her interview in Spanish. After a brief exchange, she laughed and admitted she had reached the limit of her vocabulary before joking that it was probably best to continue in English, according to the WTA's own coverage. Two elite players, the same city, the same language, yet the difference in fluency was impossible to ignore. For many international fans, it was the first time they had seen a Filipina who could dominate opponents on the tennis court and then effortlessly connect with a Spanish audience in their own language moments later. That realization began in Madrid, but it was earned through her performance first. Before stepping in front of the microphone, Alex had taken care of business on the court. Across the net stood Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova, an experienced veteran, Grand Slam finalist, and former Wimbledon quarterfinalist with years of experience on the biggest stages in tennis. None of that mattered. Alex delivered another composed performance, defeating the Russians 6-3, 6-3, without ever appearing rattled.
Sí, cada vez que vengo aquí siento muy cómoda, siento en casa.
She controlled the match from start to finish, earning both the victory and the opportunity to address the crowd afterward. The WTA itself recognized that the interview had become something special. In its official tournament coverage, the organization published an article highlighting both Alex Eala and Iga Swiatek's Spanish-speaking moments following their Madrid victories. That choice of headline spoke volumes. The governing body of women's tennis wasn't simply reporting match results anymore. It was showcasing Alex's ability to connect across cultures and languages, placing her communication skills alongside one of the sport's biggest stars. When former ADP player Steve Johnson described Alex Eala as one of the biggest attractions in women's tennis, some people questioned whether the praise was premature. But moments like this suggest the conversation has changed. The tennis world is no longer quietly recognizing her potential, it is documenting her impact. Alex Eala is becoming more than a rising tennis player. She is emerging as a global ambassador for the sport, someone whose influence extends beyond rankings, trophies, and scorelines. Then came the defining moment. In the middle of the interview, Alex smoothly transitioned from English into Spanish, speaking with confidence, warmth, and authenticity. It wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't forced. It was simply another reflection of who she is. And in that instant, millions of fans around the world saw a side of Alex Eala they had never fully appreciated before. Then Alex looked toward the Madrid crowd and said in Spanish, "Every time I come here, I feel at home." It was a simple sentence, but it carried years of memories behind it. She spoke about traveling back and forth to Spain for the past 8 years, about how every match presents a different challenge, and about how grateful she was for the support she had received. Nothing about her words sounded rehearsed or scripted. She wasn't delivering carefully prepared talking points. She was simply having an honest conversation with the fans, and they responded in kind. Then came the moment that, according to those inside the stadium, drew the loudest applause of the entire interview. Alex smiled and admitted that her biggest goal was simply not to be afraid of speaking Spanish. The crowd immediately erupted with cheers. They weren't applauding flawless grammar or perfect pronunciation. They were celebrating the confidence it took for a young Filipina to stand before thousands of Spanish fans and speak their language with sincerity and warmth. It was a genuine human moment, and that authenticity resonated far beyond the tennis court. The clip quickly escaped the world of sports. It spread across threads before making its way to X, TikTok, Facebook, and countless Filipino social media communities within hours. Fans filled the comment sections with pride and admiration. One user joked that soon Alex would be reciting Jose Rizal's famous Spanish-language novels. Another crowned her Reina Hispanoamericana 2027. Others simply expressed their amazement at how naturally she spoke the language. The reactions weren't just about Spanish. They reflected the pride of seeing a Filipina represent her country with confidence on one of the biggest stages in international sport. For those who have followed Alex Eala's journey from the beginning, this wasn't a surprise. If you've watched her breakthrough in Miami, her impressive clay court season, and her stunning Wimbledon victory over Iga Swiatek, you've probably felt there was something different about her. Madrid simply confirmed what many longtime supporters already believed. The rest of the tennis world is only now beginning to recognize what her fans have been saying for months. The deeper significance of the moment extends well beyond tennis. Spanish remained the official language of the Philippines for more than 3 centuries before eventually losing its official status in 1987. Today, only a small percentage of Filipinos speak it fluently. So when Alex confidently addresses a global audience in Spanish, she isn't simply speaking another foreign language. In many ways, she is reconnecting with a part of her country's history while representing a new generation of Filipino athletes on the world stage. She does it carrying a tennis racket, backed by years of training at the Rafa Nadal Academy, and with complete confidence in who she is. That connection leads directly to one of the most influential figures in modern tennis, Tony Nadal. The legendary coach who guided Rafael Nadal to an extraordinary Grand Slam career has been closely involved in Alex's development since she joined the Rafa Nadal Academy as a teenager. After her breakthrough performances earlier this season, Tony Nadal publicly praised not only her tennis, but also her mentality, professionalism, and the way she embraced life in Spain. Those weren't empty compliments. They reflected years of watching her grow both as an athlete and as a person. When Alex stood in Madrid speaking fluent Spanish, it was another reminder of how deeply she had integrated into the environment that helped shape her career. There is also a powerful symbolism in that relationship. One of the architects of Spanish tennis is now helping develop one of the brightest stars in Philippine tennis. The language they share is more than a communication tool. It represents trust, respect, and years of hard work together. Moments like the Madrid interview reveal that connection in a way no match statistics ever could. From a global perspective, Alex Eala's appeal now stretches far beyond her results on the court. She communicates naturally in English, connecting with audiences across the United States, Australia, and much of the international tennis community. She speaks directly to millions of Filipinos at home and throughout the worldwide Filipino diaspora. And with her Spanish fluency, she also connects with fans across Spain, Latin America, and Spanish-speaking communities throughout the United States. Few young athletes possess that kind of international reach. It makes her not only one of tennis's rising stars, but also one of its most marketable personalities. The next challenge is arriving quickly. On July 27th, Alex begins her Mubadala City DC Open campaign in Washington, where she faces top 10 star Zheng Qinwen in a highly anticipated opening round showdown. After that comes the demanding North American hardcourt swing, including the Canadian Open, Cincinnati, and finally the US Open. This stretch of the season could determine whether her career-high ranking of world number 28 is only the beginning. The rankings are still catching up, but the crowds, the television audiences, and the viral moments suggest something much bigger is already happening. Alex Eala is no longer just a promising young play-nun. Of what happened in Madrid erases the incredible run Alex Eala produced just 3 weeks earlier at Wimbledon. She had stunned defending champion Iga Swiatek, advanced to the second week of the tournament, and stood just one victory away from reaching her first Grand Slam quarterfinal. The dream ended in a hard-fought 3-set battle against Jasmine Paolini, who claimed the deciding set 6-3. For many young players, a heartbreaking defeat on one of tennis's biggest stages can linger for weeks. Alex chose a different response. Since Wimbledon, she has said very little publicly. Instead, she has let her actions tell the story. She returned to the practice court, focused on improving, and quietly prepared for the next challenge. Just 21 days later, her name appeared in the main draw of the Mubadala City DC Open, where another top 10 opponent awaited. There were no excuses, no complaints, and no signs of hesitation. Just another opportunity, another court, another battle. That sequence perfectly captures who Alex Eala has become. 3 weeks ago, she shocked the tennis world by defeating Iga Swiatek on the grass of Wimbledon. In Madrid, she captivated an entirely different audience by confidently speaking Spanish in front of thousands of fans. A light-hearted social media joke referencing Jose Rizal's Nolly Meet Tan Hair became part of a much larger conversation. A stadium in the heart of Spain wasn't simply applauding a tennis player. It was celebrating a young Filipina who embraced the moment with confidence and authenticity. Alex Eala didn't surprise the world simply because she spoke Spanish. She surprised people because she revealed something much bigger. The future of women's tennis is multilingual, multicultural, and increasingly global. It can come from a nation many once overlooked in the sport. It can thrive on grass, clay, and hard courts. And it doesn't need permission to belong on the biggest stages. Now, the spotlight shifts once again. Washington is next. Then come the Canadian Open, Cincinnati, and finally the US Open. Every tournament presents another opportunity for Alex to prove that her rise is more than a hot streak. It is the beginning of something lasting. Oh, here's the question that deserves a place in the comments. One day, when Alex Eala lifts her first Grand Slam trophy, which language do you think she'll choose to begin her champion speech? English, Filipino, or Spanish? Share your prediction below. We'd love to hear what you think. And if you've followed this journey from the Miami breakthrough to the unforgettable Wimbledon upset over Iga Swiatek, and now to the remarkable moment in Madrid that introduced a new side of Alex Eala to the world, then you're exactly where you belong. This community has been following her story long before the headlines caught up. Subscribe, stay with us, and experience every chapter as it happens. The next one begins in Washington, and you won't want to miss it.er. She is becoming one of the most compelling global stories in women's tennis.